Okay, in this video I'd like to talk about what is the big problem for the theory of evolution. There are, of course, a variety of different types of problems, like the fossil record doesn't look like it's supposed to, if evolution were true, that sort of thing. But I think what's really the big problem is the fact that you would have to have a lot of information gaining beneficial mutations to get from a single-celled organism all the way up to what we see around us here with regard to living things. Now, we know, of course, that just getting a single-celled organism in the first place, that would be extremely, extremely unlikely to have happen. As that quote by Hoyle has said, it would be like a tornado going through a junkyard and assembling a 747. It's just, could not happen. But even if somehow you got some single-celled organism like an amoeba or paramecium or something along those lines, you're going to have a whole bunch of information-gaining mutations to get from that single-celled organism to elephants, eagles, human beings, oak trees, that sort of thing. And so it's not just that the mutation has to be beneficial, because if you have, let's say, some beetles that live on a windy island and whenever they take flight, they keep on getting blown out to sea and they lose their ability to fly, that's beneficial. Or let's suppose you have a particular type of bacteria or something like that, like H. pylori, for example, and the way that it's usually killed is by a particular chemical, and if it loses its ability to, let's say, process something so that then it becomes immune to that particular chemical, it gains resistance, in other words. It still gained that resistance by losing something, not by gaining something. As far as its ability to operate physiologically, something was lost, something wasn't gained. And yet, if you have a single-celled organism, it doesn't have all the instructions for wings, eyes, your auditory system, circulatory system, all kinds of other things. Feathers, the distinctive features of the avian respiratory system and things like that. You're going to have a long series of extremely unlikely random events. And I think this is why it's so common for people who have problems with the theory of evolution to use a statistical type argument. Because if you look at the probabilities involved, it seems like it just can't work. You would have to have a series of so many unlikely things happen to get from that single-celled organism, even if you had millions and millions of years to work with. And so, to me, that's the real problem. And so if we see something like, oh, look, this demonstrates natural selection. Well, fine, no one has a problem with natural selection. Oh, look, this shows that we can get new species. Well, no one has a problem with that either. This particular mutation benefits the organism because something was lost. That kind of thing. No problem with any of those kinds of things, which we often can read about in textbooks. Oh, yeah, it shows this, shows this. Yeah, no one has a problem with that stuff. You need to get the genetic information to build new structures. How are you going to get that? That's the difficult part.